Hello, it's me. It's been about a month since you last heard me speak in one of my own blatant videos, so I thought I'd just remind you who I am. Hi, my name's Flying Scott. I pretend I can animate and I like trains. I also really like making videos, except for last month because I was completely creatively dead.
About as dead as my own YouTube channel, actually.
And because I didn't feel like putting any of the work in myself for this video, I thought I'd do a little bit of an experiment. One of my favourite features on the YouTube platform is the community tab. It's like Twitter, but people can't reply to your post with either memes they stole off Discord, which they in turn stole from Reddit, or identity political opinions which I am neither smart enough to understand nor do I care enough to understand. Now in the last 3 or 4 polls I posted before starting this experiment, I noticed that the top option would always get the majority of the votes. I'm a man of science, so I wanted to test this properly. Take note, AxolLobsterLord, because this is how you test your audience. My hypothesis was that people who don't actually want to have an input on the poll or simply have no idea what the poll is actually asking, but these people want to see the results anyway, just click the top option to be taken to the results. My method of conducting this test was by listing train liveries from about the early 1900s to the 1920s. I would randomly assign any livery to the top option and then wait 1 day for the results to come in. I would also add options to the poll with answers that were complete nonsense to see if people fell for them. This is what happened. The first test I did was simple and mostly harmless. No fake options, just 3 options of a blue colour scheme with 1 option saying that blue on trains in general looks bad. Top option, Caledonian Railway Blue, won by a landslide. It was at this point that I realised that my audience might have a slight bias towards Scottish railways because, well, I am Scottish. A stab in the dark maybe, but then again, wait for the results. The second poll was about green liveries. Here my strategy was to use a very obscure livery from a very recognisable railway as the top option. Once again, top option won. That being said, I deliberately chose Great Western Railway's most obscure colour scheme to see how many people would claim to know about it. Let me ask you one thing. What do you think Wolverhampton Green looks like? A dark green, perhaps? Maybe even a lined shade of dark green? No, it's actually a colour closer to blue. I'm of course not going to stand here and claim that nobody in my audience knows what Wolverhampton Green is, but I'm sceptical it is this large a margin which actually knows about this. You can lie to me, sure, but you can't lie to yourself. Poll number 3 is where I added the fake option. This North Cumbrian Railway never existed, I made that up. It still got 17% of the views, however. The winner of this poll was, interestingly, the Furness Railway. I personally don't like Furness Railway Red, but it makes a lot of sense why it won. There is a character from Thomas the Tank Engine which comes from this Furness Railway, so it would be quite logical if it were to get a lot of votes. Sometimes I wish I knew my audience a little less well, but hey, if you like Thomas the Tank Engine, who am I to stop you from that? You do you. At this point, my old hypothesis, of course, was no longer viable, so I added an addendum. People will favour options which they can either link to Thomas the Tank Engine or Scotland. I am not re-recording that, stupid children. Next poll was about black paint jobs. The top option is again the fake one, and I was sort of hoping that people would get the Great South of Scotland Railway mixed up with the Great North of Scotland Railway, which did indeed exist and used black as their livery. I also made sure to specifically mention Scotland in the option as bait. I also added another livery which could be linked back to Thomas the Tank Engine to basically pit Scotland and Thomas against each other. The fake Scottish option won by a lot. The penultimate poll basically pitted Thomas against Scotland. Scotland was the top option, with just below that the London Brighton South Coast Railway colour of umber. At this point, these other 2 options I just did not care about, and by the looks of it, neither did the people who voted. Again, I mentioned Scotland in the option and it won by a landslide, although it is interesting to know that this poll had about 20 more people voting compared to the last one, so clearly there's a hierarchy of preference going on. The final poll confirmed this sentiment, as this poll was just pitting the winners of the last 5 polls against each other. Caledonian Blue won, but both the other Thomas-related options trumped the very same North British Railways. Orch? Or... Ochre? I've only seen that word, I've never heard that word.
Ochre.
With these results, I could compose a conclusion. No, the top option is by no means always the preferred choice. There is, however, a perceived familiarity complex at play, seeing how some options which are total nonsense can be the best scoring choices when coming from a source which claims to be familiar with these options. In my audience, there is a preference hierarchy which consists out of Scotland up top, Thomas the Tank Engine as the runner-up, followed by an answer which just sounds convincing. I want to thank all of you who voted, and those of you who were bold enough not to vote because they had no idea what the polls were about. I know I've kind of been making fun of those who fell for the fake options, but you shouldn't feel bad for it, honestly. It was all part of the experiment. Your input was critical to debunking my initial question. You might wonder what I'm going to do with the knowledge that my audience will blindly choose Scottish train liveries over other liveries, even when the Scottish livery is fake. To answer that, I have no idea. I didn't think I'd get this far.